What unfolds when a CEO disguises himself in his own car dealership and observes a salesman belittling a customer in need? Ethan Carter constructed his dealership empire from the very foundation. A single lot has blossomed into a network of 12 locations throughout the state. Recently, there has been an increasing number of customer complaints regarding unprofessional staff, unjust pricing, and a culture that appears to value profits more than the well-being of individuals. Ethan loathed it. He had put in too much effort for his enterprise to become merely another lifeless dealership. His executives confidently assured him that all was well. They referred to it as minor issues. There's no cause for concern. Yet Ethan remained unconvinced. He had to witness it firsthand. Thus, he resolved to assume a covert identity. With the assistance of a skilled disguise artist, Ethan became Tom Reed, an unremarkable middle-aged man characterized by graying hair, glasses, and a subtle limp. He wore a faded polo shirt, tattered jeans, and scuffed sneakers, just an ordinary guy on the hunt for a car. None of the staff at the dealership had ever encountered him face to face. His visage was familiar only to the upper echelons of management, and at this specific site, he was merely another patron entering the premises. Upon his arrival at the lot, he sensed a palpable change in the atmosphere. Salesmen lingered by the entrance, eyeing customers with a predatory gaze. A young salesman, likely in his 20s, met Ethan's gaze for a brief moment before swiftly averting his eyes. He was obviously searching for an individual who appeared to be a simple target. Then, Ethan spotted an older man lingering by the used cars, likely in his mid-50s, dressed in a worn work uniform and appearing anxious. His hands danced nervously at his sides. A salesman approached him, towering and self-assured, sporting a smirk that oozed arrogance. Chad was the name displayed on his tag. Ethan strolled over nonchalantly, feigning interest in the surroundings while keenly eavesdropping. "Searching for a bargain, are we?" Chad remarked, his tone laced with superiority. The elderly gentleman gave a slight nod. "Absolutely, I'm looking for something dependable. My vehicle malfunctioned, and I had to find a way to reach my workplace. My budget is tight, yet Chad found it amusing. Oh dear, you've arrived at the incorrect destination if you're seeking bargains. Do you notice that old, dilapidated vehicle over yonder?" He gestured towards a weathered sedan. "That's the most affordable vehicle available here, and even that might be beyond your budget." The man's expression dimmed. "I was hoping to explore the possibility of financing." Chad let out a derisive laugh, "Considering your credit, I have my reservations." He crossed his arms. "Listen, my friend, I'm not the one who sets the guidelines. It's a matter of having the funds or lacking them. No dealership will approve a loan if you're unable to manage a down payment." The man gulped, his cheeks flushed with shame. Ethan tightened his grip, his fists balling up with intensity. Then Chad ventured onward. "Honestly, you might want to give Craigslist a shot. Perhaps you'll discover something that fits your budget, or even a bicycle." A handful of salesmen in the background chuckled softly. The man appeared utterly embarrassed. He shook his head, offered a quiet thanks, and turned to walk away. Ethan had witnessed more than enough. His heart raced with intensity. He felt the urge to intervene at that moment, yet he compelled himself to maintain his role. He required additional insight before taking action. Instead, he trailed the man into the open air. "Sir," Ethan said, catching up to him with a quickened pace. "Hey, I happened to catch that conversation. I'm also in the market for a car, but that crossed the line. Are you all right?" The man sighed, massaging his temple. "Everything is okay. I ought to have realized. Dealerships look at someone like me and don't even take the time to engage." Ethan gave a slight shake of his head. "That's not the way it ought to be." The man paused, contemplating his next words. "Last year, I experienced the profound loss of my wife due to cancer. The burden of medical bills has drained my resources. My car held on for as long as possible, but now it has reached the end of its journey. I am involved in the construction industry. If I can't access the site, I won't receive my payment." He managed a feeble grin. "I suppose I'll come up with a solution." Ethan felt a knot in his stomach. This issue extended beyond a mere ineffective salesman. It was indicative of a deeper cultural problem. His dealership was letting down individuals like this man, those who simply required a chance. Ethan spoke up. Allow me to explore the possibilities. I know someone who assists individuals in locating quality pre-owned vehicles at reasonable costs. Absolutely no scams. The man cast him a doubtful glance. While I appreciate the sentiment, I doubt anyone will extend their assistance purely out of goodwill. Ethan beamed with delight. It is not an act of charity. It is the appropriate course of action. The man paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. Very well, if you believe you can assist. Ethan retrieved his phone from his pocket. May I ask what your name is? Mike. Ethan successfully saved the contact. I will reach out soon, Mike. Mike extended his hand in a brief shake before turning away and departing. Ethan pivoted back to face the dealership, his jaw clenched. He had much more to explore, yet one thing was unmistakably evident. A transformation was imminent. Ethan returned to the lot, his thoughts swirling in a frenzy. He had arrived incognito to observe the true operations of his dealership, and he had already witnessed enough to realize that the situation was far more dire than he had anticipated. However, he had to grasp the complete scope of the issue prior to taking action. He meandered toward the showroom, ensuring his facade remained unbroken. The polished floors mirrored the bright lights above, while the aroma of new leather permeated the space. The setting appeared flawless, yet Ethan was aware that looks could be misleading. A young saleswoman, likely in her late 20s, approached him with a courteous yet somewhat cautious smile. Lena's name tag was clearly visible. Greetings, she said with a polished demeanor. In search of something specific today, Ethan embraced his character. Lena nodded, considering something dependable yet affordable, perhaps a pre-owned model. Absolutely. I'm happy to present you with a few choices. She cast a swift look around, ensuring no one was observing her. Then she spoke in a hushed tone. Just a quick note. The financing team here presents some quite assertive terms. Ensure you review everything thoroughly before signing. Ethan arched an eyebrow. How aggressive, she paused. Let's put it this way. Explanations often lack clarity, with concealed charges and elevated interest rates. Many individuals remain unaware of the implications until it's far too late. Ethan felt a knot form in his stomach. He had established this company with principles of honesty and fairness, yet if Lena's claims held any truth, it appeared that his own staff were deceiving customers for their own gain. Just as he was about to inquire further, a piercing voice sliced through the silence. Lena, what are you up to? A gentleman in his 40s made his way over. His suit was impeccably tailored, his expression keen. His name tag displayed Rick, sales manager. Lena sat up straight without hesitation. Assisting a customer, Rick. Rick cast a fleeting look at Ethan, then turned his attention to Lena, his gaze icy and unyielding. If you can spare a moment to converse, you can certainly find the opportunity to finalize agreements. Let's get to it. Lena tightened her jaw, casting Ethan a remorseful glance before turning to leave. Rick turned to him, his manner transforming immediately into something more refined. I apologize for that. She is in the process of discovering how everything functions. What assistance do you need from me? Ethan managed to put on a nonchalant grin. Simply seeking something budget-friendly, Rick nodded. There are numerous choices available, and there's no need to concern yourself with the cost. We will ensure the figures align perfectly. Ethan identified the strategy right away. Engage the customer, secure their commitment, and then inundate them with documentation until they finalize the agreement without scrutinizing the details. Rick guided him into an office, where a finance officer soon joined their conversation. The presentation commenced without delay. They guided him towards a financing option, featuring a low monthly payment, yet an exorbitantly high interest rate. If Ethan had been a genuine customer, he would have found himself ensnared in an agreement that would burden him with expenses far exceeding what was needed. They failed to outline even one risk. Ethan went along with it, pretending to hesitate. This appears to be significantly more than I anticipated. Rick leaned in, his voice flowing effortlessly. "This is the finest offer you'll encounter. Have faith in me." Ethan cast a quick look at the finance officer. "What happens if I don't meet the criteria for this rate?" The man wore a sly grin. "Oh, you certainly won't. Rest assured, there are alternative choices available." Ethan's patience was beginning to fray. This was not merely the fault of a single ineffective salesperson. This was ingrained in the system. This was part of their training. At that moment, a disturbance outside drew his focus. A woman found herself in a heated debate with Chad, the ever-arrogant salesman she had encountered previously. "I was promised a fair deal," she snapped, her voice trembling with emotion. "So you're saying my payments are $200 more than what we agreed upon?" Chad shrugged. "Madam, you have completed the necessary documentation. Everything you need is contained within. You hurried me along. This was not explained at all." "That's not my concern," Chad said with a smirk. "If it's beyond your budget, perhaps next time you should review the contract prior to signing." The woman's hands shook with exasperation. "This vehicle is essential for my work. These payments are beyond my means." Ethan had witnessed more than enough. He rose suddenly, catching Rick and the finance officer off guard. "Excuse me," he murmured, approaching the dispute. As he approached, Chad pivoted, his grin unwavering and firmly in place. "If you're in search of a bargain, I'm here to assist." Ethan inhaled deeply and let the facade fall away. "I have no interest in a deal, Chad." His voice was resolute, slicing through the atmosphere with precision. "This dealership is mine." The atmosphere shifted abruptly. Chad's confident grin disappeared in an instant, Rick's complexion drained of color, and the finance officer slumped heavily into his seat. Lena, positioned close by, stifled a gasp in disbelief. Ethan gradually took off the glasses and cleared his face, unveiling his authentic self. The woman who had been in a heated debate with Chad looked on in bewilderment. "Hold on, you're the one in charge," Ethan acknowledged. "Absolutely, I understand, and I truly regret the challenges you've faced." He glanced back at Chad, his voice remained steady, yet his eyes were icy. "Today, you brought shame upon a man who was seeking help. You ridiculed a customer seeking an opportunity, and now you're treating this woman in the same manner." Ethan interrupted just as Chad was about to speak. "You're fired." Chad's face flushed with embarrassment. "It's impossible, yet here we are." Ethan turned to Rick, and in that moment, Rick straightened, his confidence beginning to waver. "This is how you guide your team to mislead, to lure individuals into financial pitfalls," Rick stuttered. "I was merely adhering to the company's established framework." Ethan's voice lowered to a menacing tranquility. "No, you were adhering to a culture of avarice. A culture that concludes today." Rick swallowed hard. Ethan cast a glance at Lena. "You attempted to caution me, you revealed the reality, and I am grateful for that." Lena paused. "I simply didn't want to witness others being exploited." Ethan nodded. "This establishment requires that level of integrity." He glanced back at the room. A transformation was underway. Without delay, he cast a look at the woman who had been in a heated discussion with Chad. "Madam, we will ensure your contract is adjusted, with complete transparency. No hidden fees, no unexpected surprises." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Thank you very much." Ethan let out a breath, his heart racing in his chest. This dealership had strayed from its path, but he was determined to guide it back to where it belonged. The atmosphere in the showroom was thick with tension. Ethan found himself at the heart of the unfolding drama, the burden of his discoveries heavy upon him. Workers murmured quietly to one another, casting anxious looks around the room. Shoppers, some immobilized, others feigning interest in the merchandise, unmistakably sensed that a significant event was unfolding. Rick's jaw was set with such intensity, it seemed as if he was suppressing a tempest of thoughts. Chad, his cheeks flushed with humiliation, had exited in a huff, leaving silence in his wake. The finance officer squirmed in his seat, evidently wishing to escape a similar outcome. Ethan glanced over at the employees observing from the sidelines. "Does anyone else have thoughts to share?" His voice remained calm, yet the underlying tension was unmistakable. If you've been steering customers in the wrong direction, compelling them into unfavorable agreements, it's time to be honest. Quietude. No one wished to follow in Chad's footsteps. Ethan breathed out sharply. All right, allow me to clarify something. This establishment will no longer function in this manner. Enough with the falsehoods. Eliminate the use of forceful sales strategies. It's time to stop viewing individuals as mere statistics in a database. Rick has finally discovered his unique expression. Mr. Carter, I understand you're upset, but this is how dealerships operate. Without advancing financing, we risk losing revenue. Without a proactive approach to closing deals, we risk losing customers. That's simply how things operate. Ethan's expression turned steely. No, that's the way poor dealerships operate. If that's your belief, then you may not be the best fit to lead this floor. Rick's complexion faded to a ghostly hue. Seems I'm being let go. You prepared this team, Ethan stated, his tone steady. You allowed this culture to flourish. You allowed it to flourish. You actively embraced it. You fostered it. He took a moment, then continued, yes, I'm letting you go. Rick parted his lips, then sealed them shut. He understood that there was no way to rescue himself. Silently, he pivoted and made his way to his office, likely to gather his belongings before departing for good. The stillness lingered. Ethan glanced over at the employees who remained attentive. If you hold true to the principle of doing things correctly, there's no need for concern. Yet for those who perceive today's events as unjust, he allowed his gaze to traverse the expressions before him. It's time for you to go. Silence enveloped the room, and stillness reigned supreme. Lena, positioned by the entrance, cleared her throat. Sir, Ethan turned his attention to her. Please proceed. She paused briefly before she began to speak, her tone measured yet resolute. What does it truly signify if we are altering things? Well, apart from simply eliminating the ineffective leaders, Ethan found value in the inquiry. He inhaled deeply, pausing for a moment before responding. It signifies that clients will receive equitable financing alternatives. It signifies that we refrain from pushing them into agreements that could be detrimental in the future. It signifies a shift from viewing individuals as mere sources of revenue to recognizing them as genuine human beings. Lena gave a slight nod. A handful of others nodded in concurrence. Ethan continued, emphasizing that it signifies a culture where employees who act with integrity will be recognized and rewarded, rather than facing repercussions for their honesty. Lena's lips parted just a fraction, a look of surprise crossing her face. Ethan understood her thoughts. She had been treading lightly, likely fearful that voicing her thoughts might jeopardize her position. He was determined to prevent that from occurring. He directed his gaze toward the finance officer. May I ask what your name is? The man stood tall. Kevin. Ethan observed him closely. Kevin, I noticed the way you managed that deal earlier. You were aware that I wouldn't meet the criteria for that rate, yet you allowed Rick to proceed regardless. How frequently does that occur? Kevin paused, surveying his surroundings as if weighing the decision to respond honestly. Ethan crossed his arms, a gesture that spoke volumes. There's no need to fret about job security. I'm not here to penalize truthfulness. With a deep sigh, Kevin expressed his weariness. It occurs frequently, he confessed. We attract individuals with enticing advertised rates, yet very few manage to meet the qualifications. Once they grasp the actual figures, they're already committed to the vehicle, and we push them to finalize the agreement regardless. Ethan gave a slow nod. Not any longer. Kevin took a deep breath, then nodded in acquiescence. Got it. Ethan glanced over at the larger group once more. From this point forward, openness will be the guiding principle. Clients will have a clear understanding of what they are committing to. Everything is as expected, with no unexpected alterations. We will earn our profits through integrity, or we will not earn them at all. A whisper of doubt spread among the employees. Ethan observed the expressions on their faces. Some showed relief, while others displayed skepticism. Years spent under Rick's guidance instilled in them the conviction that deceit was the sole path to triumph in this industry. He was determined to show them they were mistaken. His thoughts drifted back to Mike, the man Chad had humiliated earlier. Ethan retrieved his phone and made a call. "Greetings?" Mike's voice carried a sense of caution. "Hey Mike, it's Ethan Carter here." He allowed that to settle for a moment before continuing, the owner of the dealership, with a deliberate pause. "Excuse me, could you clarify that?" Ethan offered a faint smile. "Indeed. I went incognito today to observe the true operations of my business, and I witnessed what transpired with you." Mike took his time before replying. When he finally uttered a word, his voice was strained. "I'm unsure of what you're expecting me to express." "I want you to return," Ethan stated plainly. "And I want to set things straight." "Another break, you mean? Convince me to buy a car instead of dismissing me from the lot." "Indeed, at a reasonable cost, with financing tailored to your needs." Mike exhaled softly. "Indeed. I'm at a loss for words." Ethan urged, "Just come back." "That concludes everything." A prolonged silence hung in the air once more. At last Mike declared, "Fine then. I will arrive shortly." Ethan ended the call and faced the employees once more. A man entered today seeking assistance. Instead, he faced humiliation. "He's returning, and we will make things right for him." Lena offered a faint smile. Kevin sat up straight in his chair. The other employees lingered in doubt, yet Ethan sensed it clearly. The transformation was underway. Transformations were underway, and this was merely the start. The dealership had fallen into a hushed stillness. The initial shock of Ethan's revelation had subsided, creating a charged yet anticipatory ambience. The staff were adapting. Clients were watching with a sense of caution, while Ethan readied himself for the pivotal moment that would determine if his team could adapt. Mike showed up 20 minutes later. He entered the showroom with cautious strides, his work boots leaving subtle traces of dust on the immaculate tile. His eyes flickered about, unmistakably bracing for yet another wave of embarrassment. Ethan advanced without hesitation. Mike's gaze fell on him, still filled with uncertainty. "He never expected to actually hear back from you." Ethan gave a slight nod. "I honor my commitments. Allow me to assist you with that." Lena, positioned close by, swiftly moved forward. "I can assist you in discovering something dependable that fits your budget." Mike cast a sidelong look at her, his caution lingering, yet he felt an unmistakable change in the air. "Understood." Lena guided him to the area filled with pre-owned vehicles, while Ethan trailed behind, observing the scene with keen interest. Once indifferent to customers like Mike, employees now stood alert, acutely aware of the scrutiny upon them. They arrived in a reliable sedan, unpretentious yet trustworthy. Lena explained that this one has low mileage, a clean history, and with proper maintenance, it should serve you well for years to come. "We will ensure that the financing terms truly benefit you." Mike's fingers glided over the hood, a clear appreciation for the car evident in his touch. Yet he remained poised for potential letdown. Without any deception, Ethan approached him. "Everything is transparent. You'll have access to every number from the start, with no hidden fees or unexpected alterations at the last moment." Mike let out a breath, giving a nod. "Understood. Let's get started." They stepped inside, where Kevin, now acutely conscious of his newfound duties, meticulously guided Mike through the intricacies of the financing process. Each term was clarified, every figure laid bare, free from pressure and trickery. Once the paperwork was finalized, Mike leaned back in his chair, his head shaking in astonishment. "Never imagined I'd encounter a dealership that would treat me with such fairness." Ethan smiled. "This is the way it was meant to be from the very beginning." Mike rose to his feet and reached out his hand. Ethan grasped it with determination. "Thank you for this," Mike said, his voice heavy with genuine emotion. "Is that so?" Ethan locked eyes with him. "Simply make me one promise." Mike arched an eyebrow. "What is that?" "Share the events of today with others. Inform them that this location is undergoing transformation." Mike beamed with delight. "I am capable of accomplishing that." As Mike drove away in his new car, Ethan shifted his focus back to his team. The atmosphere hung heavy with anticipation, as if the very walls were eager to witness the unfolding drama. Ethan let out a breath. This is merely the beginning. The landscape of our business is evolving, and I seek individuals ready to embrace that transformation. He allowed his eyes to roam across the room. If you choose to participate, you have my complete backing. If you decide otherwise, that's your choice. This space no longer suits you. Lena took the initiative and stepped forward first. Count me in, Kevin is on board too. Likewise, one after another, the others agreed with a nod. A few remained uncertain, yet the change was unmistakable. Ethan understood that restoring trust with customers would be a gradual process to mend the harm inflicted. Yet today had laid the groundwork. For the first time in ages, he sensed that his business was genuinely his once more. Ethan made his way to the dealership at the break of dawn the following day. The sun had just begun to rise, yet he felt the urge to arrive ahead of the crowd. He paused outside, gazing at the structure that carried the legacy of his family name. It seemed transformed, as if it required a fresh sense of merit. Upon entering, he noticed Lena at her desk, sifting through documents. She glanced upward, momentarily taken aback, then offered a subtle nod. Ethan smirked, clearly surprised by the early riser in front of him. She shrugged, not expecting that from you. I thought that if we're going to approach things in a new way, it would be wise to begin early. Ethan was grateful for that. She possessed intelligence, drive, and an innate sense of what to do. He required additional individuals of her caliber. As the remaining staff members made their entrance, the atmosphere within the building had transformed. News circulated regarding the events of the previous day, including Chad's termination, Rick's exit, and the fresh path that Ethan had outlined. A few employees appeared anxious, while others seemed optimistic. Some remained unconvinced. Ethan assembled everyone in the showroom prior to the start of the day. He positioned himself before them, hands tucked away in his pockets, allowing the silence to envelop the space. He finally spoke, acknowledging that yesterday had been a shock for many of you. Many of you likely assumed it was merely a facade, believing that everything would revert to normal in a matter of days. His eyes scanned the assembly. They will not. Silence enveloped the room, heavy with unspoken words. I created this enterprise from the ground up, Ethan continued. At the beginning, I promised that we would stand apart. We aimed to be the dealership that inspires trust in our customers. At some point in our journey, that slipped away from us. He allowed the words to resonate for a brief moment. I am in the process of making corrections. I seek individuals who genuinely uphold the principles of integrity and diligence in their endeavors. A handful of heads bobbed in agreement, while others stayed motionless. Ethan breathed out as he moved closer to Lena. Lena demonstrated yesterday that she is truly someone who fits in here. She cautioned clients about unfavorable offers, even when it wasn't advantageous for her. That's the kind of guidance we require. He directed his gaze towards her. From this moment on, you will take on the role of sales manager. And Lena's eyes grew wide with surprise. Excuse me, what did you just say? Ethan stated plainly, You heard me. A soft chorus of whispers flowed among the gathering. Some were taken aback, while others expressed clear doubt about the promotion of someone so inexperienced. Lena paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Ethan interjected, expressing his gratitude but questioning whether the individual was truly the best fit for the role. Your concern for the customers is evident. Your actions reflect integrity. This is precisely the type of guidance that is essential for this environment. Lena cast a quick look at the team before turning her gaze back to Ethan. She inhaled deeply, then gave a slight nod. Sure thing, I won't disappoint you, Ethan grinned. I understand that you won't. He allowed the moment to linger before redirecting his attention to the group. Now let's discuss genuine transformation. Starting now, we are changing our commission structure. Stop incentivizing individuals for promoting poor agreements. Rewards will come from ensuring customer satisfaction, fostering repeat business, and maintaining honesty. If that poses an issue for anyone, you know where to find the exit. Silence enveloped the scene, and not a single soul stirred. Excellent, Ethan remarked. The remainder of the morning was devoted to reimagining the operational framework. Lena refined her approach to sales, prioritizing the cultivation of enduring relationships with customers over immediate transactions. Kevin collaborated with Ethan to revamp financing policies, guaranteeing clarity in every transaction. Customers began to arrive slowly, and for the first time in a long while, the atmosphere in the space felt transformed. Sales representatives were articulating offers clearly, assisting customers rather than coercing them. At noon, a senior couple entered, searching for a vehicle for their granddaughter. Ethan observed as Lena took the time to assist them, guiding them through choices with complete sincerity. As they departed, smiles adorned their faces, and they expressed their gratitude for the seamless experience she had provided. That was the way it ought to be. As the evening approached, Ethan found himself in his office, poring over documents when his phone vibrated. A message from an unidentified sender. Mike shared the story with a few colleagues at the office. One of them requires a vehicle. He will be arriving tomorrow. I really hope this isn't a fleeting moment. Ethan beamed with delight. He replied, "It's not. Until next time." He reclined in his chair, experiencing a sensation that had eluded him for quite some time. Confidence. The dealership was once more heading in the right direction. This time it was destined to remain unchanged.